Lori here. I'm here for day 18 of BookMas, and the video I'm going to focus on today is the 2022 Netgally arcs that I am really excited to read. I tend to over request books from Netgally, and since conventions have been pretty much all virtual, I go to a convention like once every couple of months. I get e-arcs for free because I'm an educator. I have a lot of e-arcs. I have made a list of 21 at this point, and the day I'm filming this is December 10th. Netgally arcs that I already have for 2022. Books that I'm keeping my eye out on, books that I'm really excited for. And I figure if I write them down, I can remember that I have had them this early and hopefully get around to reading them quickly in a timely fashion in early 2022. But I did choose books for this list that I haven't really talked about in my previous reading vlogs or in my previous videos, just to sort of like give you guys a diverse look at what books are coming out in 2022, and you guys will have like a brief summary. I'll try to be a little bit concise with them, but these are the Netgally arcs that I'm most excited to read as soon as I can. This book like relatively recently, and it's been such a long wait for this book, but it is called Unreliable Magic by Rin Chupeco. This is the second book in her fairy tale series. This cover is so pretty. So here it is. It's coming out May 2022. I think the first book was called Wicked as You Wish. I'm definitely going to have to reread book one because it's been about, I would say about like 2 years since I read it. I really did like that book, but here is this pretty cover. I remember really liking this book like quite a bit. It was like a unique fairy tale retelling that reminded me a little bit of like Storybrooke and Once Upon a Time. You basically followed these characters as they were sort of sent to live in Texas, I think. And they were sort of isolated from this place because their real home was being taken over by an evil queen. And you followed the king of this realm and then his best friend. I really like this book like quite a bit. I remember really enjoying it and loving when I read it, but then I just had to wait so long for like the next book to come out. So definitely on my reread list. I'll have to make a video for that shortly if I don't do it during BookMas, but definitely have to reread it before I read book two. But I'm really excited for this one. And I didn't even look up a summary because I want to reread Wicked as You Wish, but definitely something to check out for because this book did not get nearly enough love and attention when it came out in 2019, I think it came out. So definitely add this to your list because I really liked Wicked as You Wish. I'm super excited for. I did recently get approved for an e-arc, but I was also sent a physical copy of it, so it counts for both. In Every Generation by Kendra Blake. This is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer novel, but this one is a little bit different from like the Chosen series published by Penguin. That follows like is a direct sequel and it doesn't really focus on the main characters in that series. This book follows Frankie, Willow's daughter. If you know anything about me, I'm a massive Willow fan from Buffy, like one of my favorite. And I was so excited for a book that like followed the descendants of these characters because I'm a massive Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. But you know, Frankie wasn't alive yet when Willow and Buffy save the world, and she does not expect the next generation to start so soon, and she is going to be kind of thrust into this world of magic, mischief, and demons. And I'm really excited for this one. Be honest with you, this book might be coming to Disney with me as I'm on lines because I would love to read this before the end of 2021, but if it doesn't happen, definitely early in 2022. So, but this one is a physical copy that I do have, but I do have an e-arc as well, which is why it's on this list. So the next book I'm going to chat about is the next and first mystery thriller on this list. And this book is called Dead Girls Can't Tell Secrets. It's coming out in April. It's a super short read, so hopefully I'll get around to it quickly. But here is a photo. A very, very pretty cover as well. Young girl and her younger sister, I think her younger sister, has been in a pretty bad accident and she is in a coma. Her older sister doesn't think her accident was like, an accident. She thinks it was planned. She doesn't have a lot of faith that her sister's going to wake up from this coma. She wants to sort of uncover what happened to her sister. When she gets invited to the school wilderness club, which is where this happened to her sister, she sort of goes undercover to try to figure out what happened to her sister Paige. I'm intrigued, so that's why it's on this list. Chat about in this video is a February release, and it's called Daughter of the Dead Empire. When I went to Comic-Con, I was able to sit in on a panel with this author, and I'm really intrigued by it, so that's why it's on this list. Stories has always been the Anastasia myth, so it's no surprise that this book piqued my interest. But it is a historical fiction mystery thriller, and the summary I got from Amazon says, Daughter of the Dead Empire is a narrowing historical fiction thriller about dangerous ideas, loyalty, and the price we pay for change, an imaginative retelling of the Anastasia story. With the execution of Cesar Nicholas, his daughter, Anna, the bourgeois rich girl, narrowly escapes the massacre. She winds up teaming up with a friend or a girl because she has a diamond to get as south as possible. But the girl is a communist herself, and her only goal is to sort of protect her brother. They're kind of forced to sort of like ally with each other to get where they have to go, but can they really trust each other? Sounds really interesting. I'm totally here for an Anastasia retelling. I have a couple more on my TBR. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a reading blog about them all. I have quite a few, but this one, very intriguing, comes out in February. Next book I'm going to chat about is also coming out in April, and it's called Hotel Magnifique. Here's a really pretty cover. I like this cover as well. To this book a little bit on the blind side, but this is like you follow these two characters. They don't live the most exciting and thrilling life. The main character is tasked with taking care of their younger siblings, but when this hotel comes to town that is known to be full of magic and able to transport through dimensions, it's very, very hard to live there, and they don't really have a lot of money. But when they get hired as servants, they start working there and they start uncovering some of the secrets of this house. That sounds really cool. This might be a good book for like the fall or the late summer. I'm really excited for this one as well and hope I get around to reading it soon. Another one of my videos, but I am going to talk about These Vicious Graces. This comes out in June, and it's like a fantasy thriller. So here's the photo. Book. I have read her other Disney fairy tale retelling, which I'm really intrigued about. I really did like it. But this book follows a young girl, and she's been given gifts from the gods, but they have a little bit of a twist. Any single person she touches, instead of magnifying her partner's magic, someone she's supposed to marry, she accidentally kills them, and she's trying to be courted off to someone, but when people start getting wind of what her magic really does, I think just to go on the run, that sounds really interesting, and that magic system sounds really, really cool. So it's another book that I'm going to check out definitely in June when it comes out, if not before. Hopefully before. I say that for all these. We will see when I actually get around to reading them. Book that comes out in March, and it is called Edgewood. Here is this stunning photo, like so pretty. Sort of a complicated premise, and I didn't want to read too deeply into it. But you basically follow this character, and she has been surrounded by myth and legends and fairy tale and folklores her whole life. She doesn't like to be superstitious, so she's kind of isolated from this. Her grandfather is very, very involved in this, and when her grandfather goes missing, she has to sort of go on an adventure to sort of find him, and she wound up going to this kingdom inside a forest where she has to kind of give something away to get her father back, or grandfather back. Sounds a little bit Little Mermaidy to me, but I'm really excited. It also looks like she's a dancer on the cover. She may not be, but that's what it looks like. Really excited for this one. I have read one other book by this author. I think The Last Namassara was written by this author, and I did like that when I read it, so I'm intrigued for this one. And another haunted forest. I love haunted forests, and that is an element in this story. I'm really excited for it. I've definitely talked about this in a previous video, so some of them I talked about before. But this one is coming out in July. It's deep into contemporary season. Long story short is the title. This author must really love Taylor Swift. And it is a contemporary coming out in July. And here's a photo. Girl who's a young prodigy, and she's trying to convince her parents that she can stand living on her own. She wants to go to college abroad in England, and her parents don't think she can do it. Her parents think she has no social skills. She would be really hard for her to live by herself. So she kind of goes on this adventure. I think she goes to like a camp or something, or maybe she goes back to high school. I think she might have gone back to high school actually. Um, but she has to be able to make friends her own age, and she goes to this Shakespeare theater camp. And hilarity, drama, romance, finding herself sort of sincere, just to prove to her parents that she can survive in this theater camp. I'm intrigued. Again, I'm a theater teacher. I read all the arts theater books that I can find, and I pass them on to my students when I'm able. I've actually found some readers this year, so I'm really excited for that, because then when I buy books, I don't feel that bad because I know I can give them to somebody. And I found kids that like fantasy and contemporary, which is a dream for me. So yeah, this one will definitely get read. I'm really excited for this one. About is another book I have talked about briefly in a couple of my other videos, but I just know I would want to really want to read this one, so that's why I added it to my TBR. And it's Love from Scratch by Caitlin Hill, coming out in April. Here is a pretty photo. Two teens as they are embarking on a baking competition where they have to sort of compete against each other to sort of land a publicity internship in the fall, and they're competing. But when one of their age-old fights sorts of goes viral, they believe that they're dating, and that brings some controversy to their lives. It sounds so cute. The cover will probably make me hungry. The book will probably make me hungry, but that's okay. Coming out in April. Perfect book to start off contemporary season. This video is The Kindred by Alicia Dow. I read Sound of Stars 2 years ago, I think. Time has no meaning to me anymore. I think I read it last year because I read it during the pandemic when it was like we were deep in the pandemic. So I think I read it last year. I think I read it in 2020. I loved it. It was such a cool concept. It was like one of my favorite science fiction novels of 2020. But she's out with a new book. I'm intrigued. I don't want to read too much. I'm just going to read you guys the brief summary on Amazon, but let's get into it. Here's this cover. Again, super pretty. Another one that's coming out in January. I don't know if I said that in the previous clip. But the brief summary I have found says, to save a galactic kingdom from revolution, kindred mind pairings were created to ensure each and every person would be seen and heard no matter how rich or poor. I'm intrigued. Sounds like Proxy by Alex London, which I also haven't read, but I'm intrigued to read. So I'm intrigued. I don't want to read too much more. It's a science fiction pairings. I did really like A Sound of Stars, though. Yes, these are all the 2022 arcs that I got from Netgally really, really early that I hope to read in 2022, if not before. We don't have that many days left, but that's my plan. Tell me in the comments if you have any arcs that you have received or books you're really excited for 2022, and I will talk to you soon for my next video. Bye, friends. I'll actually talk to you tomorrow for my next day of BookMas, but that's here nor there. Bye, friends.